Hey, welcome back to Sci-Fi Chronicles.
Hey.
I'm here with Brian. I'm here with Gary. How you doing, guys? You okay?
All right.
Barely.
Yeah, not bad. I'm doing okay.
Yeah, well, I've just enjoyed Star
Gary's
Trek Academy
traumatized for some reason.
Yeah, Gary after that Star Trek episode 3 of Academy, he's finding it a little bit tough.
I do have my
society.
empathy plant with me today, just so you know.
Is it talking back to you, mate? Is it
not yet, but I'm going to keep trying.
Okay,
you guys are being a little hyperbolic. This episode wasn't that bad.
Yes, it was that.
We did watch the same one.
It
was
good.
that.
It wasn't good, but it wasn't like horrible.
So let's talk about, first of all, my thoughts on it are, it starts the episode where pranks are going to be made in this episode between the War College and Starfleet Academy.
It's very silly.
Yeah. It is, and before I get into that, the droids are getting on my nerves already because I said before they should be in the Star Wars universe. They fit in the Star Wars universe because of the personality, all of that. So I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Yeah, they are terrible, but that's one of my irks on it. But I will say, I'm going to just come out and say it. The physical training scene at the beginning with the Jem'Hadar Klingon hybrids. Spoilers, lesbian Jem'Hadar Klingon hybrids, because that's established in this episode, everybody.
Yeah. By the way, Star Trek writers, no one cares. Can we stop using everyone's sexual identity as if it's a character trait? We don't care.
Oh, it's painful.
The episode stops dead for what? 4 to 5 minutes while we get that.
But it's also
unbelievable.
But it's also when she leans down to the cadet and she's shouting at him, going, "You call that a lunge, cadet? Lower." I would have turned around to her and basically go, "Well, why don't you try it then, you fat cow?"
Dude, her belly would get in the way.
So here's what bothers me about this, because this happened a little bit last episode too. So they're at Starfleet Academy, and they're there to learn. Obviously, you want to keep in physical condition. That's fine, but they're there to learn about Starfleet history, interspecies contact, diplomacy, all the things that. Occasionally in the original series of Next Gen, they alluded to as learning in Starfleet Academy. But the way that they're emphasizing the physical training, it's kind of like they're young Olympians, and this is the most important thing that they're doing. And with the Jem'Hadar Jo Martin, what she's doing, I expected her, one of the cadets to turn to her and go like, "I got nowhere else to go," like Richard Gere in Officer and a Gentleman. It's like, it's not just about the physical training.
Well, let's talk about the physical training real quick, because, and this is a thing I think you guys are overlooking. Aside from the obese, by the way, throwing stones at glass houses right now.
I know where you're going with this.
But I don't think you are. Aside from the obese Jem'Hadar lesbian trainer, at least all the Academy cadets were all physically fit. They seemed to not be. There was no one in a wheelchair trying to do push-ups. There was no amputee.
Well, no, the guy who was the mascot was kind of shaky.
But why?
Right, but they were able to do physical fitness. They weren't like morbidly obese. Even the little hologram chick was actually more fit than I thought she was.
But why is a hologram doing physical exercise?
Well, because she's supposed to. So her job, if you remember the first episode,
is to blend in.
Her job is to blend in and learn how to interact with organics. You can't do that without doing what the organics.
But when we get to the end of the episode, when we get to the end of the episode, that doesn't make sense, because something we'll come on to in a bit.
But the question that I had, Brian, is not so much that, because I did remember that line from the pilot where she said she wants to interact and learn about how humans are. But then why does a holographic girl have to take a shower?
No, it's part of the experience, the human experience. That's why she's she's also cutting it up with the cadets in the locker room. This is a part of. Look, okay, you guys.
I see your point.
Gary, you went to high school real quick. You went to high school, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go to like a regular public high school?
No.
Okay. So I went to a regular public high school, and in public high school, when we got done with gym or football, whatever it was I was doing that year, we all went in there to shower, clean up, changing our regular clothes. A big part of the social interaction was that moment where the teachers went around, were able to speak freely, make fun of each other, make jokes, because the teachers weren't in the locker rooms. So that moment, though, and some people got bullied, some people did bullying, that kind of stuff. It was a normal part, though, of the school experience was the after gym lockers.
Well, Brian, that's fine. I get that. If you're going to do that, though, for a co-ed locker room, then what you do, you have like a little nod to another Star Trek, and you just have everybody start rubbing each other with the biogel from Enterprise.
Yeah. Gary's making a joke, but I would have liked to have seen that. That would have been funny.
I'm not making a joke.
No, I wouldn't have wanted to see that, Brian. Not in this show. Not a chance.
No, but back to my point, though, like all the cadets, I was honestly, straight up, I'm telling you, the bar is set so low for this show that when they don't go as low as I thought they're going to go, I'm like, when? So I'm watching the gym thing. Yeah, the fat lesbian Jemadar makes no sense still. I'll keep beating that dead horse, sure. But all the cadets seem to be in normal physical form, doing actual workouts. There was no cadet. I don't know where the really big cadet with the swallowed her comm badge is. Where's she at?
She's thrown herself off of the top balcony.
She swallowed.
Because every single person, I'm sitting there. I'm watching it in slow motion. I'm like, where's all the fat people? There was no fat people in that entire
No, you know what, Brian? What I was thinking. I'll see if you like this idea. I think what they should do with that character is they should have it kind of as a running gag. Every episode is her saying, I think I swallowed my blank, and have it be like a new thing every week, and have that be like the weekly thing.
But
for that
she could not be in this episode, guys, because when you get to the scene later on where they're doing the combat with the phases, she would be shooting herself every single moment.
The laser tag.
Yeah, it's interesting how she just disappeared.
Laser tag.
This entire episode, and this episode was so like all about physical fitness and prank wars. And
she went AWOL.
Of course, the chick who swallows her comm badge and has no self-discipline is nowhere to be seen. I mean, at least again, bar set low, but I'm looking at the scene. I'm like, could be worse. Could be worse. I honestly expected some like person in a wheelchair, like doing like leg press or something crazy.
Yeah.
I expected some weird virtue signaling ableist nonsense.
Can I also say
about 7 more episodes to go?
Can I also say though about this virtue signaling? I find it quite amazing though that when the war college cadets they site to site transport them around the academy, where the guys have got nothing on. But they make sure that the women in there have got their gear on, because obviously if it was the other way, that would be completely unacceptable. But, here we are.
Yeah, that's sexist.
We need to learn this is okay.
The Klingon was fully dressed.
He was. But
I think it was more like they don't want to break the rating system and not be able to put this on television kind of thing. Because it is Starfleet Academy. It's made for younger people. So we can't show like...
Now,
the hologram's boobs.
This may be. This is kind of since we're talking about the first, I guess, confrontation between the two. This is a thing, and I'm legitimately kind of confused about this, but I'm sure, Brian, with your background, you'll be able to give me an explanation. For this series, the way it's presented in this series, more than once I asked myself, why 2 campuses? Clearly. Location wise, they're across the quad from each other. So
to create
they're all in the same quad.
show,
that's why I don't understand.
No,
I know
no,
we're
it's
kind of
two
skipping
branches.
around. I don't know why I know we're kind of skipping around. That's why I don't understand this.
It's
whole
like the
thing about,
military, bro.
why did you
Two
want to go to the
branches.
war college? Why did you want to go to the war college? She's 7 feet away from you anyway. Does it matter which school she's
Oh, no,
in?
it does. It does. So in the Army, I did training with the Air Force. And let me tell you something. When I was running my 8 miles with my 50 pounds of gear and rucksack in combat boots, I was highly annoyed when I passed by my friend who was the only dude in a crowd of 7 women wearing gym shorts and tennies and casually walking down the same path as I did because they joined the Air Force where it's not as hard.
The trouble
But I was able to nod at him, but I wasn't able to actually interact with him though until I got to the end of my basic training. And during training, even though they were right across, like they were literally on the same base, you don't interact with the cadets or the soldiers from the other branches until after your training's over.
The trouble I've got with that is, and I get what you're saying there, but that's real life, whereas this is meant to be Starfleet and this is meant to be Star Trek. And I think the trouble is,
I think it's
not
mirroring
since,
though.
yeah, but not since Enterprise when we had the Makos come on the Enterprise, for season 3 with the Xindi arc. We've not had that split. We've had.
There's a reason why though. Remember they said, and they said it in the first season. So the War College,
the burn,
right? Yeah. So when the burn, the stupid, ridiculous, dumb burn.
Yeah.
When that happened and our Earth became hyper isolationist and sort of closed themselves off, Starfleet was essentially disbanded for a time.
Right.
And what took its place was an Earth-based military, the War College. And that branch continued even when Starfleet was reignited and then Starfleet Academy was established. The War College continues. That's how those two branches are.
Yeah, I get that. I get that, but I think my problem with it, mate, is that there's a war college because Earth went isolationist, but then they've got Vulcans joining the war college, which makes no sense to me. And for me, the way they're going with this series at the moment is you're going to have Starfleet is the hippie socialist, federation, fleet that are exploration, and then you're going to have the war college, which is going to be more about defense and that side of things. But the fact of the matter is, because
I see it more as the Air Force and the Army, or the Navy and the Marines.
Because what she says at the end of the episode, mate, is when she's talking about, you've got to show empathy to your enemies and stuff like that. No, that's absolute nonsense, because at the end of the day, we all know you can be nice as you like, but sometimes you've got to show your teeth when a bully turns up. And we've seen that in Star Trek. That's why when they do 5-year missions, they're loaded for bear with weaponry. It makes no sense now that there isn't an integration, in my opinion. But
Well, I mean, I like the idea actually of the two branches here, because there's that age-old question that people always try to go back to when you go, well, they weren't acting very military correct. Some people say Starfleet is based on the Navy, which, by the way, it was. So the people that saying, "Oh no, it wasn't," because there's all people that saying, "No, it wasn't." It's they just use the same ranks. I'm like, oh, the second you say they have ranks, that's the military. So it's based on the military. I believe it's based on the Navy, especially the time when Roddenberry came up with it.
Yeah.
But now that it's been 1,000 years since that time, we can actually ask that question. Like, is it a science-driven institution, exploratory institution, or is it just a military arm of the Federation? And so instead of asking that question and trying to answer it, they can just have both. They could do both things.
I think, and I know we don't want to get mired in this, but I think the one thing that Brian, that was confusing me, for example, is the last speech that John was alluding to. Holly Hunter was using terms in her what have we learned this episode scene at the end?
Yeah.
Where she uses terms like opponent, enemy, war, and stuff in the lesson she's writing. So that's when I said back and I said, okay, if those are elements of what she's trying to teach, then to me, I just couldn't figure out what the practical distinction between what they're training these kids to do at the academy and what they're training the kids to do at the war college is different. I just still can't figure it out. Maybe it will come with more episodes,
maybe.
but right
we
now
haven't seen the
it's
war
just
college
confusing.
Yet. Yeah, we haven't seen the war college yet, so we have no idea what their training is. I'll say this: Holly Hunter's character, there's a lot of bad writing in the stuff she says. In the first episode, when she says
she's the worst in it.
Yeah, it's reprehensible to separate. There's no reason to separate a mother from a child. I disagree.
Yeah,
plenty of reasons to separate a mother from their child. Because what if the mother is dangerous, drug addict, danger to the child? There's a whole plenty of reasons. I'm not saying you should hate it when it happens, but you shouldn't take responsibility for someone's actions, putting their child at risk, and then them losing those parental rights either permanently or temporarily because of those actions. It's a total normal. It's a reasonable, logical thing to be able to separate a child from their mother if that mother or father is dangerous to the life of the child.
100%. And also, guys, coming on to that as well, I am here again where I'm like, if I was going to go to a college or an academy, I'm going with the commandant of the war academy, because when he sat there, when I bet we all sort of just sighed when she did it. When Holly Hunter's Captain Nala goes into the commandant of the war college, his quarters, and she slides herself over the sofa, I was like, oh, for crying out loud.
And then rolls around and then flips position.
Yeah. I can tell you why they do that, though. Yeah. They're trying to show the contrast between the two characters. They also did it in the first, I believe it was the first episode, or one of the episodes, where she was walking barefoot, and he pretty much reprimanded her for it. So they're trying to show the contrast between the two leaders of these two branches.
The thing, I get that. I think the trouble I've got, mate and guys, is the fact that I'm trying to look at it through the lens of Star Trek, and I'm trying to think, this is somebody that is meant to be running the academy, that is basically meant to set the yeah, exactly.
You will enjoy this a lot more if you stop looking at the
John, actually, to your
lick her up.
Let me offer this, John. Maybe that'll help with exactly.
You can lick her up too, but like if you just watch it as a generic sci-fi show, completely take Star Trek out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's actually not that bad.
To that point, I actually think they should have. The show has nothing to do with Star Trek as we know it, at least in my opinion. I think they should have just called this Space School. Would have been a better title. For this.
It's sort of like if Space Force, the actual Space Force, existed in 900 years. I mean, like if you actually watch this, and I'm going to say it's anything about Section 31, which I think was not good. It was horrible Star Trek. But it wasn't bad sci-fi. So you look at it and you go, completely void Star Trek from the name. Watch this without thinking about Star Trek or the legacy of Star Trek or all your beautiful, wonderful, fond memories of Star Trek. Yeah. Just look at it as we're watching a brand new franchise.
Exactly.
Guess what? It's sort of entertaining.
Yeah. I also think, Brian, that the only way
Caleb is sort of cool and the Klingon guy is sort of cool. He had that line they had when they were walking. He's like, blood wine, blood. He goes, you can only eat stuff with blood. Everything is better with blood in it. I was laughing. It was funny.
I actually also just want to say that, I mean, to piggyback on that for me, I think the only way that the show makes sense for me to watch is to view it as a comedy. If I watch it as a comedy, it makes more sense to me.
Well, I'm jumping ahead.
This was the Orville Academy. Let me ask you a question, John, real quick. I was stopping interrupting you. Sorry.
That's all right.
But bro, if this was the Orville, like let's say it's a season. What are we on? Right? What's the next season?
Season 1.
No, season 4. I think will be the next episode.
Oh yeah.
Listen, we're not getting an Orville season 4. Just so you know, I actually know people that worked on the Orville. They told me very realistically that that's not happening unless Seth all of a sudden wants to do it again and spend $1 billion. Yeah. But let's say it was Orville season 4. In this episode, because Seth couldn't get all the original cast, was based on the Orville Academy. Take the exact same thing. the exact same premise. Just take the
could
word
work.
Star Trek and make it the Orville. We would not have the same amount of problems that we have now. We wouldn't.
And
We'd be like, hey, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, and I think Gary's right about it's played as a comedy. I think because there's some weird things about this show. Because I'm jumping ahead quickly, but when we get to the combat scene with the phasers, where they're in the simulator or whatever they're doing, laser tag, yeah, exactly. What happens?
Play that laser tag, by the way.
Yeah, what happens is it's a serious scene, but they add the comedy elements into it. If they played it serious and straight, it's actually a decent scene. Where they're trying to get to the bow, but they're joking all the time, and it's
it doesn't help for the holographic girl to go, stop shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, okay, what did you expect?
And I think.
Yeah.
Also,
by the way, they probably shouldn't have had Photonic Girl in there because she can't be hit by the stupid things.
Well, exactly. There's a massive loophole at the end of the episode that we'll get to, but I was going to say that commandant. He basically says to Captain Nala in his quarters, and I agree with him. This is what he says. He says, we learn more from our failures than our successes.
Well, that's
and
true.
someone has to teach your cadets that life and war will come at them from all sides. And she pushes back on that. That is effectively what Rocky says in Rocky Balboa, where he's basically saying, nothing hits as hard as life. That's the same
100%. Listen, 100,000%. You will learn more from failing than you will from success.
Yeah.
Because if you succeed on the first try, then you didn't succeed.
Yeah.
You got lucky.
Yeah.
If you succeed on the 1500 try, then you tried 1499 things that didn't work.
Yeah.
That's how you learn. Listen, guys, I've tried 1,000 things. I've had 5 businesses. Okay. I've done everything to not have to work a regular job because I don't like it. I have failed at about 80% of the things I've tried, but the 20% of the stuff I actually succeed at, that's the stuff that pays my bills.
And if you fail,
I learn more from failing, a lot more than from getting lucky because a video happened to go viral that week.
100%.
And if you fail, you kind of, once you get an idea of your limitations, then you understand either how to push past them or how to adapt to them or whatever, make them work for you.
A big part of it is finding your own boundaries, finding what you're capable of, what you need to excel in, what you need to dial back.
So
it's just like playing a video game. Like if you play a video game for the first time, you're not going to be great on that first time because you don't know what the character's abilities are. You don't know what their movement speed is, their damage level. You don't know how it works. And then once you learn how the mechanics work, then you got to figure out the actual limitations of that character and the limitations of your enemy. It takes practice. No one is good at something the first try, and if they are, they got lucky.
100%. And can I also just say, guys, this Captain Nala, Holly Hunter's character, we finally get to the point at the end of the episode where she has actually put a uniform on. So I consider that an achievement because when she talks to the kids at the beginning of the episode, she hasn't. When she's reprimanding them, she's got her pajamas on. And literally at the end of the episode, we almost got it 100% complete because she puts her uniform on. But when she puts her feet up on her desk at the end of it, she's surprise, Brian, you called this last time. She's barefooted. She's not put her shoes on again. So
they're trying to show the contrast between the two leaders.
Now, what is
real quick, Jerry? I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, go, please.
You guys put me on here, and I always have a lot to say about this crap, so it's your fault.
It's our fault.
Realistically,
blame Kurtzman.
The perfect Starfleet officer is probably a mixture of both the war, the academy. What's the name of the War Academy guy?
War College.
Yeah, the War.
Oh no, what is his name? I don't remember his name.
Whatever, the War College Chancellor and the Academy Chancellor. If you take both those characters and you combine them in some way, that's probably the best version of a leader for Starfleet Academy. And I would argue, if I was writing this, the way I would end this is those two things being combined into one. Yeah. Because right now, the hippy-dippy socialist Starfleet, those shoes on, doesn't make, Academy don't make no sense. But also the hyper reactionary isolationist, non-exploration militaristic version is not really Starfleet either. So it's a combination of those two things.
And it's also, guys, it's almost like the writers have gone, do you know what? We want to get 2 different audiences to watch this show. So we'll do a war college that might cater to certain people, and we'll do a, like you said, socialist Starfleet Academy that might cater for other people. And it's like, no, just write good stuff. Good stuff.
And I don't want to do this. I told you the first time we did this review, I'm not going to make the same mistake where I fill in the details with what they can write to make it work. But I can't fucking help myself. If they actually do take both ideologies and come to a consensus where they are together and they are working together, both the exploration hippy dippy socialist crap, because let's be honest, like Star Trek, not a whole lot of it's sort of as a semi-socialist utopia, right? But it only exists that way because there's a military arm, because there's decorum and officers. So if the writers are doing their job, and we don't know yet, it's 3rd episode, and I don't think they are. Let's be real, it's been burned before. But if they are actually doing it, if they're writing well, then we should get to the end of this thing, and they should be combining the War College and Starfleet Academy and all the ideologies that go in both. So we have a nice blended version of that future, which would fit Starfleet in our Starfleet, and it would sort of fit if you took like Sweden, which is not actually socialism; it's like a hybrid of capitalism and socialism. You can take a hybrid. No, capitalism on its own is not good. Tribalism on its own is not good. Socialism on its own, it's just communism light. But if you take all those things and you have like this nice blended version where all the best of this and all the best of these different ideologies work together, that's where you get Starfleet, in my opinion. So if they're getting to that point, if that's the point, is to pit them against each other and then come to a conclusion that they need to work together, then we're sort of witnessing the rebirth of Starfleet Academy. And I would even go as far to say is that's probably what happened, and we don't know. That's probably what happened in the past for Starfleet. We went from military capitalism into the Star Trek that we know and love from TOS, TNG, etc. It had to have been some kind of transition the same way, just like we saw the Makos on the Enterprise, right?
Yeah.
There was obviously a military.
But you did, because you see in DS9, you see when they're at war with the Klingons. You've got the military forces of Starfleet. Because you've got the guy dying on the planet that Jake Sisko stumbles across, and he's bleeding out. Because he's been at war with them. So they do have that, and they do ship them out. So they do train people for that, definitely, and they don't just. I agree. They don't just serve on a starship.
And we never had a show that really focused on the military aspect of it. It was funny. I think the closest we ever gotten, aside from DS9 episodes, was the Makos on the Enterprise.
Yeah,
100%. And I think they'd also do. I did chuckle at this because they ripped off Starship Troopers in this episode. Just 100%, guys. I don't know if you were like watching
Listen,
it.
Listen, if you're gonna rip off fun sci-fi, Starship Troopers is the one to do it.
Yeah, but I will say there was one lazy bit in this show, really lazy, is they had the scene where they're doing the combat, and then they decided to use the footage again for when they did the Academy trailer advert, and it's like, come on, you're filling time here.
No, that's exactly. I'm sorry, that's exactly what young people would do. Yeah. If you're gonna meme on your opponent, that's what I would do. I would take that footage of them freaking out and re-edit the commercial to show how ridiculous they are. Honestly, like, I saw it and I was like, oh, that's so silly. And I was like, that's exactly what we would do today. Exactly.
I will say, guys, the the actual cadets are not the problem with this show at all.
No, they're not. They're not.
Caleb is a good actor. They are actually writing him seriously.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
The Betazoid girl, she's good. I think those are the top two.
She's
Genesis.
Fine.
Genesis is good after
Genesis
this.
is good. Yeah.
But the thing that's letting this show down more than anything is Holly Hunter's Captain Nala and Jem'Hadar Klingon hybrid lesbian woman. It's
she's coming off as too much. For Holly Hunter, I think the only way to for me in my head canon to justify the way that she is, I just assume that she's a descendant of the space hippies from the original series episode, Way to Eden. That's the only way to explain. So, they're still out there on the colony,
Laphanite, right? Isn't she Laphanite or Lathanite?
Yeah, half Laphanite.
Okay, so dude, check us out. Again, I'm not trying to fix the writing. Okay. I can't help myself.
You can't, mate. You can't.
Everyone watching this right now that is like, why is Brian glazing for this show? I'm not glazing for it. I'm just being reasonable. I do not like this as Star Trek. Okay. But if you go look at the Lathanites in Starfleet and Strange New Worlds, she was very much a super hippie. Same way. Like they had this super hippie sort of like free flowing lifestyle, and she's like half Latinite or whatever. That explains why she's effectively immortal. I still hate the idea of a species that doesn't age. It's stupid. I think anything organic should age and die. But they have established that those people are very sort of hippy dippy socialist weirdos. So it fits their existing canon. Like, and when I say there, I'm referring to Strange New World Discovery, because I'm not talking about our existing canon. It fits their existing canon. I hate the idea of it, but it does. And I hate the idea of a burn, but because it's happened, it makes sense that a Starfleet Academy would have to be rebirthed after the burn, after Starfleet's actually reestablished. All that stuff is fitting into their own canon, because I sit there and I watch it, and having actually watched every episode of Discovery twice, every episode of Strange New World twice, because it's my job sometimes.
Poor sod.
Right. Trust me, it's been rough. Having to watch them talk about the ship's sexuality in that one episode. Oh my God, I wanted to shoot myself. But they're not breaking their own canon. They might be breaking our canon. Right? They might mess with our canon and they might. I mean, you would argue the Jem'Hadar blood. We've never seen what their blood looks like, so we don't know if it's white or not. You are probably right that they just thought it was white because they're fucking tourist and they don't know
exactly.
that
they've not sat through that.
That's not their blood, but more than likely. But to be fair, we've also never seen Jem'Hadar blood, so we don't know what color it is. So they just now established it. They have not broken their own canon. They have cannot, and I've looked. Because if they had, I'd make a video about it.
Well, all right, here's the thing. The thing really quickly to answer John's point about the Jem'Hadar lady is that the thing that's annoying me is, I know we're 3 episodes in, but still that's 4 hours of, 3+ hours of television. She's just so one-dimensional.
Yes.
I mean, all that she is just yelling at the cadets
and takes you out of it.
Being the guy from Officer and a Gentleman.
I don't think she's a good actress. But she did have a good moment when that first prank happened, and she went into Nala. Yeah. This is how much I care about this stuff, guys. I'm forgetting names. I can tell you fun facts of Star Trek that happened 70 years ago, but I forget the names of something I watched 20 minutes ago.
That's a good thing.
She did go into Nala's quarters, and she had a good line where she was trying to get Nala to take the prank war stuff seriously because Starfleet Academy is new and it's on a razor's edge on whether or not Starfleet will adopt the Academy ideology over the War College, which in all of their lifetimes, the War College is a proven quantity. So if you look at it, you go, these people, they don't remember what it was 1,000 years ago. They've only existed as the War College has kept them safe, right? Or whatever that branch is. So this Academy thing is sort of an experiment of sorts. And I don't think everyone's in on reviving it the way they are, which means she's totally right. When you can't have a lot of craziness going on, when politically people want to don't want this thing to exist.
Well, but the thing about one dimensional is like, she's shouty. I think what they need to do is introduce something like, give her kind of like what Worf did, where he has these lines which him saying the very po-faced become funny because of the way he's saying them. Where a lot of time Worf has the funny things because he's like the stoic Klingon and he says weird things. Exactly. Right. I am not a merry man. Things like that, where give that to her where she can still play it straight, but
we saw a little bit of it, episode 1. We saw a little bit of it.
Okay, for example, the whole shenanigans thing.
When he heals her and she like thanks him by like, she says something.
This isn't for levity.
Well, she said they can.
She like pats him on the back and he flies across the room, and the hologram, the photonic chick's like, no thanks, needed.
Like this episode where she says, they shenan before, and then they're going to shenan again. Okay, like that. Give her stuff like that, which can take the in terms of the characters, the thing which, and I know that I think the 4th episode is supposed to be about the Klingon guy, but to have Jaden, I can't call him a Klingon, to have Jaden say lines like, his name is Jaden.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Jaden. I just call him Jaden.
Like Will Smith's son?
I think he should have the
Jaden Smith.
I think he should have one of those David Marcus.
100%.
He should have one of those David Marcus sweaters, yuppie sweaters tied around his neck like David Marcus in Wrath of Khan. But to have the Klingon come along and say, "I will not pursue violence in any form," I'm going, come on.
No. You're looking at it wrong. Wait.
I'm not
looking at it like Star Trek.
No, Gary. I gotta push back on this. First off, you keep watching this like it's a Star Trek show. So you need to stop doing that. Number one, that's your mistake, not mine, not theirs. Okay, but let me just talk about the Klingons real quick. We have seen. I'm sorry. We got pregnant. We've seen every version of Klingons there is. Okay. Our favorite versions are Worf, the guy from DS9. I forget his name right now. Goron, right?
Goron.
The classic Klingon.
And Kern as well.
And those Klingons are great. We've also seen the mutant Klingons from Discovery that were horrible and stupid, and like they went full on warlike.
They were Klingons.
Okay, let me tell you something. Thank God the writers are now like, we're not doing that again. That was a failed experience. Like they learned something on how horrible they treated Klingons in Discovery. Now we have Klingons that actually first look like Klingons. Now, we've already gotten...
It's a slow progress.
Very 1,000 years, we've gotten Klingons that act like Klingons. In Strange New Worlds, we got Klingons that acted like Klingons. By the way, I love that they killed their own canon and decided after Discovery ended just to go right back to classic Klingons. They're like, that failed.
Yeah.
It makes sense, though, in 1,000 years, you have a Klingon who is fighting his own instincts and wants to be different than his ancestors. Wants to be different than his forefathers. And most teenagers rebel. In fact, there's
had that with Alexander, though. It's kind of like a
sort of. We never get to see that come to fruition, though.
We only see him in DS9 where he turns up and he's become the butt of the jokes on the Klingon ship because he keeps cocking up engineering or getting the buttons.
And no one, you can't make fun of DS9 while getting yelled at in the comments, but that was a mistake. Most people that watch this agree that was a mistake. So there's this book. It's by Alexander Cloud, I think his name. No, Stephen Cloud. You got me saying Alexander. Stephen Cloud.
I thought you were going to say Alex Kurtzman then for a second. I was like, don't you dare.
I've read all of his stuff.
I think it's called Stephen Cloud. Anyways, there's a book. It's called The Integrity of Generations. And it's this amazing pattern that the writer points out. And I believe in God, and I believe God instilled the art of rebellion in young people. And I think the reason is so that society would never go too far one way or the other. And the pendulum always has to swing back the other way because your kids, and it always skips one generation, which is very interesting. They'll always rebel against the previous ideology in some way. And so for like 25 years now, what have we seen? We've seen woke this, woke that, gay this, gay that, hyper virtue signaling, a lot of leftist liberal propaganda, right? And now you see in a lot of the younger Gen Zers and now Gen Alpha, we're seeing them completely rebut that. Or rebut that, whatever. They're fighting against that. They have no problem saying the word retard. You know, they have no problem like calling each other gay as a slur. Like their speech is not, they're not negatively affected by speech. They think it's funny. Comedy is coming back in a way with this younger generation where they're very sort of based the way we were in the 90s. It just took 30 years. And just like that book says, it skipped a generation. And I think that God instilled that rebellious spirit in teenagers so that they would swing the pendulum the other way. And for 2 generations, right, we will swing it back the other way. We'll have a nice based, no nonsense, retarded generation. And then, you know what? There'll be a generation beta, I'm sure it will be called, which is hilarious, by the way. When generation beta comes out, they'll be the ones that start going back the other way, start asking for participation trophies and gentle parenting and all that stupid nonsense that ruined an entire generation.
Yeah, 100%.
So now you have a Klingon, right? And we haven't seen this yet. We started to see it with Alexander, but we never got to see it come to fruition. They made a mistake there. I think with Alexander, we're seeing that Klingon go, I don't want to go down that route. And in 1,000 years, it makes complete sense that there might be some young Klingons that want to go the sciences route versus the grab a batleth and start taking heads route. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
again, though, it's your problem, though, Gary, because you are looking at it as a Star Trek show.
Well, but then if they pursued that line, if they pursued that character development line, that would be fine unless they stick to it. But don't toss in all the member berries stuff like in this episode where Jaden goes, they violated our honor. It's like, look, which way do you want to have it? The Brian way, which, you know, if they pursued that with integrity, that would be fine. But don't try to be fence sit.
I mean, he still has some heritage he's got to fight through. I get what you're saying. And I'm not 100% fan of this character, but I don't hate him like I thought I would, dude. When I saw the first
character,
when I first saw the poster of him like walking with his like lengthy body and smiling, like I was like,
in the tracksuit.
Yeah, I was like, this is gonna be the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
and I gotta say, this character doesn't bother me. He does get angry in that first episode. He wants to refute his, I guess, intuition, his instinct.
Yeah, using it sparingly at the moment.
But they're using it sparingly. I think we're gonna have a moment where he's got to open up and actually do something in defense of his found family, and that's gonna be a big Klingon moment where you're like, hell yeah, let's go, Jaden Smith.
I mean,
whatever his name is.
Yeah, Jaden Smith. In fact, I can actually picture him in the show now quite easily.
They should have casted Jaden Smith.
And
he looks like a Klingon, a gay Klingon. He looks like a gay Klingon in real life.
That would have been great.
Real life gay Klingon, it would look like Jaden Smith.
That would have been great though. If they had this kind of Galaxy Quest opening where we actually see the characters as like Jaden Smith as Jaden, that would have been great.
Do you know what I'm going to say also, guys? That they don't even follow their own writing, their own script, and the structure they put together. Because
I mean, canonically they do.
No, I'll give you an example. Because when they're about to go in and they're going to go and do the combat, the what is it, whatever it is, laser tag. She makes the point that the phaser only fires as a transporter, so it transports them out of the game. Right? We get later on in the episode that the Genesis is able to destroy the replicators that are against the wall with the phaser to create the steam for, to cover them. But there's that. But then we've also got the hologram who basically stands up and she basically, makes herself, photonic. Porous, so that the lasers don't go through her.
That was the wrong word. Permeable.
Yeah, that's it.
And then it's interesting. When he said porous, in my mind, I was like, "That's the wrong word." And then she goes, "You meant permeable." I'm like, "That's the right word."
Yeah. But then she actually stands up, and she says, while she's doing it, she goes, "Nothing in the rule book about it. you know, so effectively it says someone says that's cheating, and she says nothing in the rule book about it. But why weren't you doing it for the other 37 games that you were playing then, for crying out loud?
Maybe she just figured it out, and that's true though. So the best sports, look. So Gary, you watch sports, right?
Very.
Okay, you're a bad example. Let me move on.
Yeah.
The best sport competitions in history. Okay. The best football games, the best Super Bowls, even the best esports, the best Dota 2 championships and Fortnite championships are the one where people used exploits or rules that were not yet established to gain an edge that no one else knew about yet. And then they changed the rules of the game in order to patch that out. In football, baseball, physical sports, and even esports, that's always happened. That's always happened.
I get that, but this is lazy writing, man. Because
I mean, that's like saying it's lazy writing that Kirk changed the computer to beat the Kobayashi Maru. Was that lazy writing?
The Kobayashi Maru I know is going to come up at some point.
Of course it is.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's the most famous thing in all of Star Trek.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is, man. I mean, it's like they do that to end it. But I've also got to just point out one bit that I could
traumatized.
Yeah, I did laugh at incredibly, where Genesis, you know, they're ducking down at the final battle.
I think Genesis is cute, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
no, she's
tiny. I mean, I'm short, but she must be under 5 foot. But they're ducking down, and she says to the hologram, she goes, "Go and protect so and so," and the hologram girl, she's undercover, but she literally just does 2 just weird rolls.
Yeah, no, I know.
And
all the rolls are great.
That reminds me of years ago when I was playing Gears of War, and you'd accidentally press the wrong button, and you'd like underneath like.
Oh my God, Brian! I had the same exact thought when I saw that. I was like, I thought it was, and Mass Effect has the same role. Like, I think it's Mass Effect. Like
duck and cover, but
stupid,
no, I hit the wrong button.
The duck and cover roll is so stupid. I actually thought the same exact thing. I was like, I feel like that's like a Gears of War thing, because she did, and she looked ridiculous. But I think that character is supposed to look ridiculous because she doesn't have to compete, she doesn't have to shower, she doesn't have to work out. This is all for her own growth as a first photonic in Academy. So she's sort of cosplaying as a cadet. She doesn't actually have to be there to learn anything. She's there for her growth, socially, not mentally or physically.
I think also, guys.
By the way, she is not as fat as I thought she was. When she went to the gym, I was like,
yeah,
not bad.
I think
I thought it was going to be way worse.
Exactly, and I think I got through that scene. And to be honest, this is another example where I say is you take the comedy elements out of it, you can actually make a decent scene if you play it serious and play it straight. Yeah. They're not doing that. But then you get through that scene and you're like, oh, great. Lesbian Klingon Jem'Hadar and Tig Notaro have just turned up. Yeah. Great. Wonder what we're going to get here. We're going to get, you know, reprimanded, shouting at the top of her voice. And then they go off to see Captain Nala. And Captain Nala at this point, she is lying down on her chaise lounge again, and she's in her pajamas this time.
Yeah. That's right.
And
we get it. You're happy. We get it.
And at this point, I'm like, just one Klingon torpedo to that academy could just take it all out in one hit.
So hyperbolic, John. You're so hyperbolic, bro. I think you have PTSD from like years of bad start. Like if you just accept they've already destroyed what we love, and try to enjoy this as a brand new thing that is not what you used to love, it's not as bad. There is a lot of, even if you completely take Star Trek out of it, there is plenty of this that's not good. But I think that you were right when you said the cadets aren't the problem, because I actually like the cadets. I like them. I think Caleb is a really good character, played by a very good actor, which by the way, I found out that actor, he fudged his way into, this is actually such a key, he's so much like his actual character. He fudged his way into an audition to play Aladdin when he was like way younger than what the call sheet asked for. And they actually gave him a round before they realized that he was too young to play the role. So he actually tried. He's a little bit of a scamp. He's a little bit of a scoundrel, which I like. And I like the Genesis character. I like the weird guy that can survive in space. I forget his name.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you mean the preppy kid?
The preppy kid. I like him.
Yeah.
I like that he's so focused on being the best, and then he walks out and he sees that Genesis has been up for an hour working out before him. That's sort of cool. Like the cadets are not the problem. And if the show is focused on the cadets and they're not the problem, then I'm not hating it. The problem for me is we don't have to bring anyone's sexuality into any of this, by the way.
No.
Not required. Especially if you were making this for a younger audience, you shouldn't. You legitimately shouldn't bring sexuality into this if this was made for a younger audience. So that's a criticism. I don't like Holly Hunter very much. Not the actress, but like her character sucks. But I think they're trying to make. I think they're purposely making her super hippy dippy nonsense, and I hope that they're doing it for a reason because of that merge we talked about before. And the Jem'Hadar, which I think she's just she might just not be cut out for this job. She might not be the right. And we said before in the first review we did, the casting is really not good, right? No. But Tig Notaro's not horrible. She's a lot better in this than she was in Discovery.
No, but I will say
so much better in this than she was in Discovery.
I will say, when she's talking Tig Notaro to the cadet, and basically he finds out he's got no messages, and she's known this guy for 5 minutes, and she says, "People are simple. They either show up for you or they don't." And basically tells him his parents are a waste of space, and doesn't know the backstory, doesn't know his history. It's just parents are bad, Granted,
I don't disagree with her though, bro.
Explains later on, but you can't make that.
I get what you're saying, but I don't disagree with her because people are simple, and the easiest way to categorize your friends are the ones that show up, dude.
Oh yeah, but it's
and my family, most of my family don't show up for me, but a lot of my friends do. John, you always show up when I need you, bro.
Yeah,
like I consider you a friend because the people that show up for you are the ones that you should give your time to. I don't dislike that at all.
I think I 100% agree with that. I think it's when she's making insinuations about his parents and the family, but she doesn't know anything about the family. She doesn't know the family history. She doesn't know his childhood.
And all she knows is they didn't return his calls, right?
Yeah, that's like me turning up to you, Brian, and going, "Look, I don't like the way you're bringing up your kids. You tell me to get stuffed.
Hey, John." Shut the fuck up.
Did you get that email?
Yeah, I saw it, bro. I'm trying to ignore it.
There's a lot of hate.
What you guys don't know is that the relationship John and I have on screen is actually fake. We actually hate each other, but we are so good together that we stay doing the shows. But John sucks, man. He sucks.
I can attest to that.
In the green room. In the green room before the show, Brian put it on cam to me, and he'd made a little voodoo doll of me, and he was just burning it with a lighter.
Stabbing it over again.
And the thing,
someone asked that once, and they're like, do you and your brother actually fight like that in real life? I'm like, yeah. So that's just not like for the show. I'm like, no, that's what brothers do.
And
we argue and shit.
The thing. One of the very clumsy examples of writing, but to me not the worst crime on my list about this show, is that whenever they try to, as Brian has said, and I think John and I will agree, when they try to basically sledgehammer all of the identity politics agenda stuff in, it is always so clumsy. It's like, okay, let's push pause on the story while we do okay, everybody, let's talk about our sexuality now, and then get back to it. It is always so forced and clumsy. And for something that I'm sure the writers feel passionately about, maybe more passionately than anything in life, I don't 100%. Know. But considering probably how passionately they personally feel about it, they are so clumsy when it comes to adding it to their story.
I mean, it's funny you should say that because I made similar notes on it, and I basically went back to history of Star Trek, and I was basically going, okay, they want to sell the message about diversity and inclusion, all that. Okay, I get it. That's what they believe. But when you look
some
at
of the writers in there believe it, and they push it really hard.
Yeah, and I think I look back and I think, right, Deep Space Nine, Jadzia Dax, a trans allegory, easily. Okay. Also kissed a woman in that show. You've also got a disabled person, and they write it that it's gravity because of the different planets. Is the gravity is too heavy, so she's in a wheelchair. There's that. You've got Geordie with his visor, disability. The fact of the matter is, we never talk about things like that from Star Trek of the past because it's well written. It doesn't feel like it's forced because they're three-dimensional characters and it makes sense. These people, you're 100% right.
Their entire identity isn't being trans or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the problem with now is like they paint their sexuality as a character trait.
Yeah.
And no one's in real life, the weirdos that make their entire character, whatever their sexuality are laughed at by real people. And I think that some of the writers that are writing this show and any modern Trek, any modern movies nowadays, they don't understand that real people, they don't take those people seriously.
No.
We don't take people seriously when their entire identity is whatever their sexuality is. We don't. Regular people do not take them seriously. They roll their eyes and they walk away because it's not worth the trouble to interact with those people. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with you being gay or be whatever you want to be. We don't care. But the thing is, once you make it your entire identity, our eyes roll. That's the way it is. So when you present a character on screen where their entire personality is this sexuality, we can't help but roll our eyes because that only works for a tiny itsy bitsy percentage of the people that will possibly enjoy this show, and the other 98% are going to roll their eyes because 2026.
The next generation
100%.
episode, The Outcast, where Riker is written about 35 years ago. Can you even imagine how cringe-inducing these writers what they would come up with if they had to write that episode today?
But you're 100% right. And
what about
that
episode where Trip falls in love with the
on the other ship and he's pregnant?
Okay. So remember when that Riker episode you're talking about? I remember going on Reddit and they were having a discussion about that episode, and there were actual weirdos in there that were mad that they made the character femme-facing. Like, why did they make the character? Why couldn't it look like a male? Why did it have to look like a female? Because they didn't want you to focus on that. That wasn't the point. It wasn't the point with their sexuality or their lack of gender was not the point.
Yeah. They're always going to have a grievance, aren't they, those people?
Yeah, they always do.
I mean, you know,
can give them everything and they'll find something to complain. And I mean, you can make the same argument about us. You can give us the perfect Star Trek show and we'll complain about something. But that's sort of what Trekkies do. We
talk about warp core issues or something like that.
Right,
yeah, exactly.
I don't think the variance in that warp core was correct. If you go back to TNG, calm down.
No, I'm going to be ticked. By the way, talking about warp cores, John, I'm going to be ticked if they don't merchandise those warp core pajamas because I want to get one. I want to get some.
You know, I'm going to ticked about if they don't merchandise the mascots, bro.
And they better merchandise an empathy plant too.
No, but for real.
Well,
I want one. I'm not even this is not a joke. I would love to buy that plant that repeats what you say to it. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay. and the Mogado, that's great. I actually like that a lot, and they should merchandise it. I want to buy a Mogado stuffy for my kids.
Yeah, I mean that's what throws me with it, because it's like you were saying, mate, about don't watch it as a Star Trek show, but they keep throwing in Star Trek elements, and it's like you can't. You have to like spiritually disconnect the idea of Star Trek.
To Brian's point, I want to get on my soapbox for a second.
You will ignore it more. You will enjoy it more, Gary. If you
I've told you. Look. Like I said, I actually, after this episode, I'm going to convince myself that I'm watching a show called Space School that has nothing to do with Star Trek.
And then it's Space Academy, bro.
And then they did Space Academy in the 70s.
Space Force Academy, bro. It's a real life thing.
Space Force Academy. I was going to say they did Space Academy back in the 70s on Saturday mornings.
No, Space Force Academy in 1,000 years.
Yeah. Here's what, and
And there's a giant statue of Trump in the.
I know I may be painting myself as a prude, but I can't even begin to tell you the depths to which I hate this in this franchise, and it pulls me out. It pulled me out in the pilot to a lesser extent here, and they went into overdrive. Is for a show that's supposed to take place in the 32nd century, in a franchise that has always been known for literate writing for the most part, elevated language. Has anybody explained to these writers that this show does not take place in 2026?
Oh yeah.
Because in this episode, we get a Romulan. I go through a list. I made a list as I was
at least
watching.
The Romulans are back. What was
we got a Romulan.
Wait, John, didn't we complain about that last review? Where are the Romulans at in the 32nd
Brian,
century?
I'm still asking that because in my mind, a Romulan does not say, dude, he smoked you. A Romulan, Brian, does not say that. And then later on, this
I don't
Romulan.
know, man, because you
Brian,
and I grew up saying dude, and my kids now call each other dude.
Brian, no,
it's been 40 years. I'm just saying.
Let me be on the soapbox for a second. As much as we all agree that this show is not Star Trek, it should not be called Star Trek.
I was being contrarian when I said that. I agree.
No, I'm not. In reality, it does have the label Star Trek, so we do have to critique it as a show that is being presented as Star Trek. That's their intention.
Should. I'm just saying that you'll enjoy it more if you spiritually disconnect.
And I agree. So we got the Romulan saying, dude, he smoked you. And then later on, like double flips off the Academy on the Jumbotron, on the cadet on the Jumbotron. Yeah. Then we get the Jem'Hadar lady using contemporary terms, 20th century terms like PR dumpster fire, filling out a comment card, and even laser tag. And then we get the laundry list.
Those are actually like 90s terms.
And then we get all the laundry list of great Star Trek terms. Like in this episode, douchebag, frickin', kid shit, asshole, the Beta Z princess says bullshit. We get POS at one point. We get the Magato saying, hey, why don't you blow my horn? We get the other mascot going, whip it out, bro. We got the hard light lady going, I can make myself permeable, bitches. We get somebody else going, holy shit. And then at the end, I couldn't believe this, from a line that was actually scripted, rehearsed, and acted. He says at the end, so like, what would you say to somebody? I'm sitting there going, he did not just frickin' say like.
Yeah.
So like, what would you say to someone who does, so like, I'm just going, oh my Lord. And I'm sorry, like I know I'm a prude, but this show in many ways is the perfect embodiment to me of the extent to which culture and entertainment has degraded in the last 10 years at least.
I agree, Gary. Let me just push back a little bit, okay? I'm just going to push back a little bit, okay? And I'm not trying to be contrarian. I'm just trying to read.
He's here tonight, everybody, because he likes to throw bolt grenades into the room, and then I'm not
trying to throw punches on it.
Yeah, the original series before, I'll let you say your piece, Brian. All I know is the original series would have been so much better if Kirk would have said to Spock, boy, that Khan is such a douchebag.
Well, the word douchebag didn't exist. Not as a slur back then, I don't think. But the thing is, there's going to be, listen, okay? Dude, there's going to be words that exist in 2026. I hope if we're still around, that still exist in the year 3000. Of course. And I think that asshole will be one of those words. It's been around for a long, long time.
Double down on you.
Double down. I think there's some words, and you're right, but I'm just going to push back a little bit. There's some words that will still exist in 3000 as long as we're still speaking
Brian,
in the
do we
English
need
language.
to be like assaulted by them so much in one episode?
No, it's too much. It's too much. It makes it hard for me to watch.
And I know why they're doing it. The writers are going, oh, those kids, they like it when I use the current language.
All I can say to you guys is I got so angry with that Romulan character who was like it was like a little miniature character because she was about 4 foot. She was tiny. Yeah. I got so annoyed with her. Literally, blood was coming out of my eyes and ears. It got that bad for me at that point.
Literally, blood was coming out.
Yeah.
Listen, John, if blood was coming out of eyes and ears, literally, you need to end this stream right now and go to the doctor. Because that's a problem. That's not normal.
The funny thing is, it goes away after Academy finishes. It just stops.
It's crazy. That's magic. Yeah. But go ahead, finish what you were going to say.
And it was also the bit where they finally confirm that Jem'Hadar, Klingon hybrid, and Tig Notaro are lovers. And it's when Tig Notaro says, "I'm sorry, kitten, my bad." And I was looking at myself and I thought to myself, do you remember when I watched the Chain of Command when Picard is being tortured by a Cardassian? This is far worse torture than that, without a doubt.
Bro, I had like a quick visual of their lovemaking. And I actually threw up in my mouth a little bit. Imagine Tig Notaro
crushed
with this morbidly obese Jem'Hadar chick, bro.
Like, that's why we'll have to get
no one wants to visualize that. What are you doing?
But Brian, that's why we'll have to get the Steelbook 4K release, because that will be in the deleted scenes.
Yeah, that had the bonus extras. They call it a bonus. The same way you call a big guy tiny, extras. They call that a bonus.
You can imagine
an ironic bonus.
You can imagine Tig Notaro going, I can't breathe. And then all of a sudden, Jem'Hadar on top is going, victory is life.
Victory is life.
And you know, Brian, John and I were talking about this. John and I were talking about this before the show. They're already setting up the next big revelation in the next episode, right, John? They've already set it up.
Yeah, Klingon guy is gay.
And with who? With who?
And
with the guy from the war college.
Yeah,
I hope not.
With the
it's 100%
smiley guy, Kyle.
Yeah. And my biggest criticism of modern Trek is the constant callbacks
it's painful.
to sexuality. The constant sexuality. It's always Gary, I'm not a prude either at all. You guys, everyone knows that. But the thing is, I don't want to constantly be beat over the head with gay sticks. And I feel like I walk in here and it's just gay bats beating the crap out of me every time I watch a Star Trek show.
Yeah.
Look, in the future, I'm sure there's people that are gay. I mean, actually, evolutionary wise, if you were born that way, and it becomes completely. Actually, wait a minute, Gary, hear me out here, guys. If gay people, LGBT believes they were born LGBT, right?
Yeah.
So that means it is a genetic thing, right? So let's just go science here.
Yeah.
So what has kept the gay gene moving forward throughout the last thousands of years? The fact that it wasn't totally acceptable. Well, when it becomes totally acceptable, and when and if those people can't breed on their own,
we get Academy.
No, but wouldn't that mean that the gene that makes people gay would eventually be bred out?
That is usually how it works.
Theoretically, but then they would just
that
come
means
back
in the
with
year
Malcolm
3000
from Jurassic Park. Life finds a way.
In the year 3000, though, that gene shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. All I'm saying is, I'm sure that that's just saying in the year 3000 that those people exist. Cool, whatever. But do we constantly have to be inundated, reminded, beat in the head with every character's sexuality? We don't. We don't have to be constantly beat in the head. You're going to take this character that most of us are either apathetic to or even enjoying, and you're going to make him a character that makes no sense. And it's gonna frustrate the audience, and a tiny percentage of the audience will like it. But the vast majority of the audience will either roll their eyes, like we said before, or straight up dislike it. So it's a huge gamble to take that character that people are starting to like, and make his entire personality once again his sexuality. Doesn't work.
Your point is spot on. Do we need to have it? Of course not. Why do we have it? My theory, and we could be talking about this, we could be talking about Doctor Who, we could be talking about Star Wars. It's because today's batch of writers, and today I extend back to the last 10 years, not even that. They're suffering from such a creative void that in their mind, when they have to create a new character and come up with interesting characteristics, it's like, I have to mold a character. Well, let's see, what kind of characteristics should I give them? Oh, they're gay, because they have nothing else.
That's not a characteristic.
It's their first stop and their last stop, because they've got nothing else.
Dude, let's mine the writing room. Gary, I have a great idea. So we should have a Klingon in the show, right? Check this out. What if we had a gay Klingon?
I would say, shut up, Wesley. I would
completely subvert the audience's expectations. Make him a gay Klingon.
I would say, Brian, that's great. If we were doing anything other than Star Trek, that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, I made this criticism of Discovery. I'm like, I remember in Discovery, it was like a 90-10 ratio where 90% of the characters were gay, lesbian, whatever.
But I mean,
and only 10% of them weren't. I remember thinking, how in the world are they sustaining their population? How does this work, dude?
I do think it's because, yes, people are writing too much of their own personal. It's like, wow, I have a chance to show the world what I personally believe, and it's too much of a temptation. I think there's that, but I also honestly do think that they are just so uncreative that they can't come up with anything else. They can't mold. And you think any of these like writers today could like mold like a character like Spock with all the multi-level character like Spock? They couldn't.
The reason is because you nailed it on the head already. When they go, okay, we're gonna make a Klingon character. What's his personality traits? The first thing they'll say is he's black and he's gay.
Yes.
And you're like, wait a minute, wait.
Capitals on the board, yeah.
Wait a minute. Your race has nothing to do with your personality. Your sexuality has nothing to do with your personality. But for some reason, modern day writers are like, what's the personality trait? Oh, their race and their sexuality.
Yes.
And go
that's
back.
Pathetic. It is
pathetic because you go back. We can go back to the 70s and watch TV shows with African American characters, Asian characters, whatever, and it was never about their race and always about their personality. Which is what the point of being a non-racist is not paying attention to what skin color or sexuality they are, and pay attention to their personality, their actual character. Look at Torchwood. I've gone back to this well a bunch of times, John. You know this. Yeah, I love the Captain Jack character. One of my all-time favorite characters in all of Doctor Who. He's gay,
but he's well written.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care that he was bisexual or gay. His personality wasn't based on whose penis he wanted to touch or not. No. I didn't care. I never cared what his sexuality was because that wasn't his personality. It wasn't his personality. Now you take that character now, right today, and the very first thing you know about him will be that he's gay.
Just really quickly, John, had I been writing that scene, the Chikaro scene, after she goes under that whole spiel or whatever, I would have had after she goes about the French dinner and the kitten and all of that, and makes these comments about cuisine and all this stuff. I would have had the preppy kid look right at her and say, "Why did you feel the need to tell me that?"
Yeah, it's inappropriate.
Why would I care about any of that?
Well, and that would be his. Actually, if you look at his character so far as what they've given, that would be very, very characteristic of him to say. And don't need to know that, ma'am.
I'm gonna go back to it. I'm gonna go back to it. Picard season 3. Why is that regarded as the best series of Star Trek that we've had since Enterprise? Why is that? Because the characters we're invested in, the villains, the heroes, antagonists, protagonists, we care about learning more about those characters because they're 3-dimensional, well-written characters.
Now you can argue that that you can argue though, John, that's also because they were set up in a lot of those characters are set up in TNG.
Oh yeah,
but they didn't have to write them. They didn't have to make you love them before they told the story. But then you can also argue the other side. Todd Stashwick's character wasn't. Nope. And by the end of that 10 episode run, we loved that guy.
Yeah, and
that guy was awesome.
And what's her name? The shapeshifter. Good character. I was interested in what she was up to throughout that series. And again, the thing is with a series like this as well,
trying to remember,
there are no stakes to it. There are no stakes in a series like this. You know, you're not building to anything. It's just, it will just end on the final episode, and you'll be like, okay. When
they got 2 seasons though. It's gonna have 2 seasons at least.
Yeah, but again, where do they go from here? You know, does it finish with them, you know, graduating and going to their ships? But for me, I've said to you guys before, in 1996, I've still got it. The game for my PC, Star Trek Academy, and that was where you had cameos from Kirk and Sulu on the game, and it was basically. They turned up every now and again to give words of wisdom, but it was the cadets. But they were at the academy. They were doing simulations. You were in the simulator, fighting off an attack from a Klingon warbird, or you know, how do you do your shields? How do you do engineering? That stuff. And you were building a team. You had to answer the questions. Yeah. That's what I wanted from an academy series. If I ever was going to get one. But I never did because I knew it was a dead end. It's an academy series.
It's a bad idea. The academy idea for a show has been around since that video game, by the way. It wasn't just Kurtzman that wanted it. The idea of making a Starfleet Academy show has been around literally since the 80s. Since the success of TNG, they've been trying to consider the idea of doing a Starfleet Academy show because it's almost like a character. Problem is, every good writer would start that project and get to the point, that same exact point you just reached, where it's a dead end.
Yeah.
You can't go any further. How do you make this something that can go multiple seasons? You can't. Because at some point, they have to graduate. And what are you going to do? Bring in a whole new cast and crew? You're going to start over from the ground floor? Makes no sense. The entire idea is built on a rotten core.
100%.
Not just the rotten core of Discovery, but the rotten core of a bad idea. Starfleet Academy shouldn't be a show. Starfleet Academy should be something that you feature in other shows. It shouldn't be its own thing.
Do you know what I always wanted? And just to add to your point there, Brian, what I said as well, guys, you know, I remember when they were talking about season 1 of Enterprise, and the producers, the execs, they wanted them to have it on Earth to start with. So the first season was like the right stuff. It was basically them building a team that were going to launch into space. And then the second season was in space, the Enterprise heading out on its adventures. That was the original plan, but they scrapped it because that would have been dull as well.
So Berman wanted to do that. I actually know the story. Berman did want to do that, but you know what the studio said? And I got to agree. And I love Rick Berman, but I'm going to agree with the studio right now. They said the show is not called Earth Trek. It's called Star
That's
Trek.
True. I agree with that.
It's true.
You cannot have an entire season on Earth.
Here's the thing, John. I would think in today's environment of 8-episode seasons, you maybe could get away with that structure. When you were back then dealing with 22-episode seasons, no way could you do 22 episodes on Earth.
And
no way, because they would graduate in the first 8 episodes. Like, it wouldn't work. I mean, but you know, that's a good point. You might be able to do 4 seasons now because that 4 seasons is almost like one real season of TV.
I don't know. I've got to ask this because Enterprise made me think about this, and you guys may have covered this in your coverage of the first 2 episodes. What is the deal with these floating CGI flower petals in the opening credits? What is the point of that?
So it's the birth. So I actually saw a whole thing on this, a tweet thing. The idea of it is to show like the rebirth of Starfleet, and I think rightfully so. Starfleet starts with Starfleet Academy, and not just this organization that restarts itself after this burn. You have to have a generation of people so the current generation of Starfleet, they came back to Starfleet or got involved with Starfleet as adults. So they're not invested in it the way a new generation that was raised in it would be. So I think the idea of it is you're basically regrowing the tree that is Starfleet.
Okay.
Do you know what, guys? I think to myself, right? If I had the
I don't
option
like it, by the way, Gary. Sorry, John.
Yeah, if I had the option of doing a Star Trek series, and they said, "Oh, you've got to integrate the Academy into it," do you know what I'd do? I would just call it Starfleet, and it would be after the burn. It would be the Academy is one section of it, but you've got integrating the Vulcans with their ships that they've got now, the Federation, getting them all to use one fleet effectively going forward, engineering, tech, build all that into it, exploration. You can do something with it.
That sounds like an RTS though, and nowadays, movies and games need to be character driven, and it would be very hard to do a Starfleet show without there being like a core group of characters.
I think you could still do it with a core group of characters.
They tried to do that with the Foundation series, and while there's people that really like that, it did fall flat for a lot of people because there wasn't a lot to grasp onto except for that character that is basically the iRobot guy.
I think one of the things to extrapolate on what John's talking about, maybe, I mean, if you're going to set it during the Discovery time frame, you could say, okay, we've got to get like ships out there, and just from like a manpower position, we've got to have the ships have a mix of new cadets along with experienced things, just for manning purposes. And so then you have the dynamic of a lot of these, under normal circumstances, a lot of these cadets wouldn't be out in space already, but needs must. And the conflict and the problems come from the fact that you have a lot of untrained people out there. That could be something.
So there is a theory on, and I saw this. I'm telling you this theory that I read. This is not my theory. That the reason why the Academy is a ship, right? What's it called, the Athena or something?
Yeah.
The reason it's a ship is because we're going to see the Athena be forced into service for some big problem as the cliffhanger of the season. And I have no idea if this is true. And that's going to put the second season almost like a Voyager-esque kind of season, where these new characters, these new cadets, along with characters from the War College, are going to have to work together to solve some big problem. And that'll be the second season.
I think so. Let me ask. It stands a better chance then if they just launch without the bridge officers, because I think the cadets stand a far better chance of surviving.
I think Caleb is way more.
They left without us.
Yeah, I think Caleb is way more effective than like every other person on that bridge. I mean, let's just do a foot race. Whoever wins gets to be in charge of the con. Oh, you all had heart attacks before you got to the final finish line. I get it. Let's put Caleb in charge of the con.
So the two things that I want to see from the rest of the season at some point, and
credits.
And I don't know. No, and I don't know. I know there's like screeners of some of the other advanced episodes out, but I haven't seen them.
I'm not watching the screeners. I have not logged into my
Indie
account since I told you guys.
Just like this, I want to see. There's going to be the inevitable party episode where I think like one of the cadets like sneaks in some like illegal like Romulan ale that has all kinds of goofy effects on people, like it short circuits the light girl, it makes the Beta Z person go crazy and nuts, and everybody kind of lose their cool and the party just kind of gets out of control. They got to do like a 90210 party episode.
Speaking of Beta Z chick though, I think they're foreshadowing. And again, I have access to these screeners in my Indie account. I have not logged in, partially because every time I log in, it tries to get me to agree to like this 5-page thing, which I will not do.
We'll know if he's logged in, everybody, because what will happen is he'll be a broken man and he'll basically be walking around.
All of a sudden, I'm not optimistic whatsoever. I
was wrong about everything.
This show sucks. These writers are stupid.
He's coming on the show, everybody, and he's going, I said about watch it without it being Star Trek, I was wrong. Even if it's not Star Trek, it's bad.
I'm gonna see if I go that route. You guys know that I broke my own my embargo. No, but for the Beta Z chick, I think they're foreshadowing that she's like Jean Grey level powerful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
red.
Yeah, it went red, which I thought was sort of cool. That was like that. The inhibitor was at max to keep her from like causing actual physical damage. You know,
hormones were going berserk.
Which I think, by the way, I gotta say, I think that's cool. I've always liked the Beta Z species. You have to assume that there are Beta Zs that are way stronger than other Beta Zs.
Well, we had the one in Next Gen where, remember, he couldn't turn off. You know,
right,
where they were going to, you know, Tin Man, that episode where he was basically hearing the voices of everybody on the ship all at once, and he couldn't turn it off, and that'll drive you insane. So I get you're going to have some disabilities or some debilitation because of it. Overability.
She's like OP. Imagine this scene real quick. What's Paul Giamatti's character? Braca?
Yeah.
Okay, Braca. Paul Giamatti's character, Braca. Braca attacks the ship. He's trying to kidnap Caleb. He's disabled the bridge crew. He's about to win, and then you see the silhouette of Beta Z girl in the doorway, right? Head down, right? Red light blinking, and then it just like a little electrical shock. It just fizzes out. And you just have that psionic scream where she just disables everyone on the ship. Like if you don't give me that scene and you set it and you're setting it up this way, then you as writers are not doing your job.
And Brian, you know what? That's a great idea, but the question is, can they write it?
No,
how sick would that be? You see the doorway, he's all blurry-eyed, Braca's about to kill him or whatever, and you see the little blinking red light. And then you just hear that scream, that sound where it's like your ears are ringing, and her eyes start to glow, bro. Yeah. And she just goes full on Super Saiyan Betazoid. I want to see that.
And the other thing, really quickly, to just make my last point, what I was going to say was the second last thing I want to see. You know how they're putting quotes on the walls, you know, and the camera zooms in so we can see all the member berries and stuff? Yeah. I want one of the quotes on the walls to be, "It's been a long road getting from there to here." They really need to have that be one of the quotes on the wall.
No, but I want to say, "It's been a long road," and then it pans for like a while. From there to here. I want to see that. I want to see a long, drawn-out shot of nothing but a blank wall, and then the get from there to here.
I'm going to tell you what I want to see.
Listen, if that happens at any point in this show, I'm officially going to give this, regardless of anything else, I'll just give it a good rating.
I tell you what. I tell you what I want to see, which will make me very happy, and it'll be the Academy does launch back into space. Braca turns up, and he beams Captain Nala and Jem'Hadar Klingon hybrid into space, and the last thing you see of them is just floating past the view screen. That's it. That
explode.
Yes.
No. How about this?
Looks like Caleb's the captain now. All right, now we're back on action.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get a transporter accident, and we're gonna get like a Tuvix episode merging the Jem'Hadar woman and Holly Hunter together.
Oh no. That's no. What if we merge Tig Notaro and Jem'Hadar chick, right? And now you have this real crazy
kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, and you can completely recast it, take out both those characters, and all of a sudden get like a well-rounded character that really just loves herself and no one else. It's constant self-flagellation.
I've said to you on your show, Brian, I really want, and this is cruel of me, but I really want the large. I'm going to say large. Again, I'm not a slim guy, but this is why I laugh at this, because I would not get into Starfleet. I would fail the physical exam.
And if you would fail the physical exam, then I would 100% do it.
So the large woman on the bridge, I just want Braca to turn up again, and he's just site to site transporting a cake around the bridge that she's running after. That I'm happy with. That'll do it for me. And it's like, you know, because these bridge officers, they don't know anything other than site to site transport.
We are never going to see all the bridge officers, which they took 10 minutes introducing us to with a close up in the pilot. We're never going to see those characters.
I'm still tripping out that Yeoman Rand is the same actress playing the same species, and Yeoman Rand's character and they species bent the original Yeoman Rand for some reason, and you're going to ask yourself a question. I know it's no longer Yeoman Rand, but why do you get the same actress that played the species-bent version of Yeoman Rand in Strange New Worlds to play the same species now
and don't give the
Discovery
species a name?
I'm so confused, and you give her a different name. Honestly, was there no other actress available to put that makeup on? I'm not saying anything wrong with that actress, but here's the deal: it's confusing to the audience because she played the same exact version of Yeoman Rand in Strange New Worlds already, but it's the different character. That's like John. 100%. That would be like me and you doing our show, right? And you come on a different person's show, and now you're like.
Ron.
Now, you're putting someone else's name, and no one acknowledges the fact that your name is John Yulden from Sci-Fi Chronicles. It's just confusing, and I sat there for way too long trying to figure out what the connection was. There's no connection. They just liked that actress in that makeup, and she was willing to do the job.
John,
it's lazy as hell, bro.
John, please, I beg of you, do this. Yeah. So Brian just made a lot of points, but please clip out the 2-second clip where Brian said, now it's just confusing, and then drop that in every time we talk about Starfleet Academy. We'll have Brian in his little meme going, it's just confusing. Yeah. It's just confusing. I'm not making fun of you, Brian. I think that was genius, but that needs to be a meme of Brian goes, it's just confusing. I would drop that on. I would be dropping that on everything.
That's the problem. It's legitimately confusing.
It is.
With all the name whatever other problem you have with the show, but the fact that you took the same actress that played the same species, but a different name in a completely different time frame, 1,000 years separated, and now she's playing the same species again. I don't get it.
This isn't related to this episode, but I'm curious because if I don't ask it now, I'll forget. Brian, when do or if at all we will start getting any idea about viewing levels for these episodes?
We've finally found out from YouTube.
Are they going to, does Paramount release like how many people watched the pilot or the second episode?
You won't know how many people watched it unless it tracks on Nielsen. You know what Nielsen is, right?
Yeah, of course.
The minutes, it's watch minutes, isn't it?
So now Nielsen is no longer tracked with little boxes on your TV like they used to be. I'm actually a Nielsen family. I have a sign up and everything. Now what it does is you connect all your streaming services to your Nielsen account. And what's cool is that you actually get a percentage off all your streaming services. And it's funny because I only signed up. I didn't sign up to actually have any kind of influence over anything. I signed up so I can save 25%.
It's his fault, everybody. It's his fault.
I signed up because I want to save 25% because I have 13 streaming services because of this job. Well, the way it works now is the Nielsen families that are accepted as a Nielsen family, and I applied like 10 years ago, by the way, before there was digital streaming stuff. The way it does it tracks what you watch because you're signed in from that to your streaming service. So it actually has access to your watch history.
Right.
And it doesn't, you watch it still on your Roku or whatever, but then it periodically logs in and sees what you watch and how much of it you watch. And then it tracks it by minutes. So if I watched every episode of Starfleet Academy, I watched every minute. And so all those minutes accumulate. And then when you go to Nielsen, the digital ratings are basically shows you the ratings for the top 10 of those shows. So unless the show actually gets to the top 10, you probably will never know how successful or unsuccessful it is.
Yeah, I mean,
like honestly, it's Picard season 3 made it top 10. It made it number 9, and in fact, it's the only modern track to ever track on Nielsen. Ever.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And funnily enough, they wouldn't go forward with Star Trek Legacy, would they?
Right. Instead, they were like, you know what we should do? Let's do that Academy show we've been trying to do since the 80s.
I can't stress to you how much Kurtzman is a real life, almost Bond villain to me because of what he's done. You know, I think I'm going to quit my job and make it my quest to hunt him down. You know, and have a serious talk with him.
Everyone,
John will be tied.
He is kidding.
John will be tied to a table, and John will say, "Do you expect me to watch?" And Kurtzman will say, "No, I expect you to die."
Just so you guys know, everything John said right now was jest. He's not actually going to hunt down.
Yes, no.
No,
He was kidding.
I mean, worst case scenario, I would he would be tied up, but all I would be doing is spinning in my chair like Holly Hunter, you know, constantly.
Let me tell you guys how the Nielsen tracks. And remember, Nielsen is not it's not up to date like by the week. Like it shows like the last month, right?
Yeah, plus 28.
Right. Yeah, thank you. That's correct. So number one right now for last month was Stranger Things. And like, here, I'll show you guys. And by a long shot.
Oh, yeah.
When I say long shot, I'm talking about like long shot. Can you share that, brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Look at that. Oh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you want to go full screen on that?
No, that's fine. So Stranger Things, by the way, listen, millions of minutes, 6,008. I actually track the Nielsen charts. I watch them all the time. This is what actually helps me find out what to talk about on our various channels.
Yeah.
And when I saw this originally, I was like, I have never seen the number one slot be so far ahead of literally everyone else. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not a big fan of Stranger Things, but clearly there's a lot of fans of Stranger Things. Like, oh my God.
100%.
Well, when Picard Season 3 came out, just so you guys know, Paramount had never actually tracked on Nielsen, on the new digital version of Nielsen, not once.
Yeah.
Picard finally gave Paramount a slot, and it was number 9. And then right before it ended, it had climbed up to number 7. Since then, Paramount has had 1 or 2 shows on the Nielsen ratings. So Picard Season 3 was not only objectively the best Star Trek show since Enterprise that we know of by the numbers, it actually gave Paramount a foothold. It made enough customers of Paramount where other shows they had were able to actually track. And right now, Paramount is number 2. Now, obviously by a long that's a far away, but still number 2 is pretty damn good. Remember, Paramount Plus had not even come close to Nielsen's top 10 before Picard Season 3, which is insane.
Yeah. I think so what we're saying is that there were idiots higher up at Paramount that agreed to go forward with Kurtzman Trek as opposed to going forward with Star Trek Legacy, which might have actually entertained people, and it might actually have done well in the ratings and the viewing
you're right.
figures.
It's actually crazy. Like you finally
There's
had
no
a
logic
show
to it
that actually tracked Nielsen, that had wide acceptance by a creator that had mostly acceptance, and an amazing idea with both new characters and old characters. You had a perfect storm of what you could have done going forward with Star Trek, and by the numbers, a provable success, objective success. Not only did that show give you that objective success, but it allowed you to track other shows because the subscriptions you got from that show alone gave you numbers enough to actually track on Nielsen. And what did you do? You fired them.
I mean, it's insane. It really is. And again, I really hope the new people actually do some proper common sense stuff, because it doesn't even make business sense.
I've never seen a number 1 so far ahead at number 2. That's like, what is that? 4 times? Like,
that's insane.
It's a lot. That's insane. That's a lot of numbers,
about
man.
like 5 times probably.
That's wild, dude.
So guys, I mean, what would you say about Star Trek Academy at the moment? Are you excited for the next episode? So Brian, you go first, mate.
Yeah. Now I'll be honest with you. Yeah. There's not a whole lot to watch right now. It's new.
Yeah.
So if there was other things to watch, I probably wouldn't care that much. So whoever decided to put Academy in this time slot where there isn't a whole lot of new stuff to watch, and especially no new science fiction, which is what I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
That person's doing their job, because they they put it in a slot with almost no competition. Like, what are they competing against? Not Stranger Things. It's over. They're not competing really against anything right now. And the new TV that is on, is mostly coming from network television, like The Rookie and High Potential, stuff like that. And they have to deal with terrestrial standard release dates. And so they can't really dominate in the digital space the way Academy can. So Academy it's lined up to have the best chance of success it can possibly have. So whoever decided that should get a raise, unless it's Kurtzman. Screw him. But whoever else decided this is the time to release this should get a raise, because in TV, often the end of January, beginning of February, this is sort of the doldrums for new TV and new movies. Often you'll see movies release in early February that the studios don't feel super confident in, because there's not a lot of they're not worried about whether or not it's gonna compete. And so a lot of the new movies and TV shows, and like right now, like if you go on like YTS or any of these pirate sites, look at what new movies have been uploaded. And I'm only saying pirate sites because the easiest way to see new movies, right? Yeah. The newest movies being uploaded right now are like Blu-ray releases of stuff from the 90s. Like there's nothing new. So they released Starfleet Academy in a period of time where there's very little anything new. And if you're a junkie like we are, right? And we're TV junkies, then you're watching old stuff. And when something new comes on, at the very least, you're going to give it a shot because it's new, right?
I think you're right,
man. There's nothing new for me to watch, so I got to watch something.
I think before I come on to Gary, I think for me, what I'll always say on this channel,
snap your fingers, Gary, on the camera.
Yeah, we're not enjoying it, but we'll always give something a try. We'll always give it a chance. Yeah. That's and we'll evaluate it as we go. But for me, it's bad. But again, I'm not blaming the young actors for it. I think they're doing a decent job with the scripts they're being given. I also think, as I said earlier, it's actually the Holly Hunter is probably the worst in the show.
100%.
Followed by Jem Hadar, Klingon hybrid.
Jem Hadar. Yeah, for me, it's reverse. The worst is Jem Hadar, following by Holly Hunter. Holly Hunter sucks. I keep thinking, like, when are we going to get more Paul Giamatti? When's he coming back?
Yeah.
Finale.
And I'd also just say in there, I don't know if we will see the Doctor again in this season. I think maybe he was paid off just to be in it for the opener. Maybe a finale.
No way. First off, Robert Picardo is not a high-ticket actor. And as much as we like his character, and I love him as the Doctor, and I love him as Robert Woosley, I love his characters. I liked him in the Orville. His characters are great. His politics suck, but his characters are great. He's barely classified as a working actor. The guy has literally done fan films for money. Okay, guys. Right? When an actor does fan films for money, that means that they need the work. So I don't think that his price is very high. And it would be such a massive mistake to have 25 actors in your show, and the one actor people actually have a connection to, you only front load them in the first episode. That would be a mistake, brother.
It would.
That would be a mistake for sure. By the way, the guy who plays Caleb, his name is Sandro Rosta. Very good actor. Very good.
Yeah, he's not the bad part about it. He's probably one of the highlights of it. I'll give 100%. Him credit for that. But I mean, Gary, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm just going to say
this is his first real TV show. He's auditioned for everything and has never gotten anything. The only thing he did before this show was a literal short, like tiny video called Snitches Get Stitches, and that was not released anywhere. This is the first real thing he's ever done, ever.
You do realize that is going to be spoken by one of the cadets in one of the forthcoming episodes. Snitches Get Stitches.
Yeah, right. I'm just shocked that this guy has been able to embody a very charming, three-dimensional, interesting character with no history. Yeah, no history. Like this is his first thing he's ever done. Sort of wild, man.
Well, really quick, I'm just going to say that I will keep tuning in because like I said, I like a good comedy, but also
plus now you're on contract to do the show every week, so
you know, I'll keep tuning in on the off chance that the writers actually prove that they're somewhat competent and that the writers actually end up, you know, making me believe that this is actual 32nd century and not that I'm watching some contemporary 90210. I actually call this show Deep Space 90210. I think that's
original,
what it
Gary.
feels like to me.
By the way,
real.
The chick that plays Genesis has here's the contrast. She has been an actress since she was like 8 years old. She's already been in 30 different TV shows and movies.
Oh, you can tell because the way that she carries herself, like in the show. I think that she's the most, compelling of the cadets.
She's been
writing her like that,
bro. I can't believe she's done. She's not 30 years old, by the way. She's done more productions than she is old, which is insane.
That's why I think that she will eventually become, as much as they're front loading Caleb now, I think she's actually going to become the main.
Yeah, there's going to be some growth for that, I would say.
I'd have no problem with that. I like the character. If she became like the captain or whatever, it's fine.
I get a feeling before we finish off, I think that they're setting their stall. I think these writers, they're going to kind of grow Caleb and her, and they'll write for it. But I think they will sacrifice the other characters, the cadets, that they won't have the growth like those two. I think that's going to happen as you go through this season.
They'll become tropes. The preppy kid, the incompetent kid, the insecure kid, and that will be, and then they'll focus on like 3 of them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's it for today. That's our episode 3 review of Star Trek Academy. Let us know in the comments what you think. And also give us a like and give us a sub if you want to see more of these coming out from us. We always have a laugh doing them, and we do a lot more stuff as well.
And if you want to see us actually try to curl up in our chairs during these reviews, let us know that. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, my boss gave me a verbal warning this week because I was going to work bare feet. So he said that that's not very professional when I'm going out and seeing clients.
No, you just say, that's not very forward thinking. They do this in the 32nd century too.
Yeah. But until next week, look after yourselves, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Take care, all.
Bye, guys. Love you all.